Genesis chapter 8, introduction, 38. What is this chapter about? Right, it's kind of in a certain sense, it feels to lots of people as if this is an unnecessary interjection in between or in the Joseph story. But as I already explained, remember, this is not the story of Joseph, the last part. The last part is it's the history of the sons of Jacob. Joseph is one, and he's going to be the most important one, but it's not just about Joseph, right? So interjections about other sons they are not interjections. They are a wider picture of the history of the sons of Jacob, or Israel, which this is about. Okay, so this is not a strange story. If you remember correctly, for those knowing the book of Acts, you get the same kind of thing in the book of Acts as well, right? You get the story of Stephen's murder, or his dying for the faith, and then there was the story of Paul there in the end, right? This young guy where they put all the clothes at, kind of. And then the next chapter, lo and behold, not the next chapter, then we get the conversion of Paul on the way to Damascus, right? And then all of a sudden there's a break in the story with Peter and Cornelius. So you get a beginning of Paul, you get a break with Peter and Cornelius, and then you get back to Paul and stay with Paul. Okay, so there you start, there's mention of Joseph, the previous chapter, 37. Then now in this chapter there's a break with Joseph. We know he's back there in Egypt by now. Okay, and we're going to focus on another very important story, because ultimately the line of Christ goes through Judah, right, and not through Joseph. Okay, so so therefore there's this interjection here, kind of going on. So with Judah's ultimate line, although Judah's not going to be the most important person, but Judah's line is going to be the important line. The important person is going to be Joseph, right? Like in Acts, the important person is actually going to be Paul. So there's this starting with Paul, a break with Peter, and then continuing with Paul. So if people think that this is a later on addition, an interjection, it doesn't make sense, then they need to draw the same kind of conclusions to what happened in Acts with the Peter and Paul. So this is not a strange kind of happening. Okay, just that, because I've read that again what Bible scholars, especially liberal ones, but others as well, say, but this is kind of later addition, it doesn't fit the story, etc., etc. No, it fits the story, and we have other examples of that in the Word of God. So in this story we then get to Judah and the story of Judah. Judah, kind of in a blasé, easygoing way, going into another girl, having 3 boys with this woman, then she dies, they get married, or at least the oldest get married, and yeah, it doesn't turn out well, because he was a sinner. And but he was a egregious sinner, a very bad sinner. And then it moves over onto, so now according to the law, the second brother had to marry her, so that the offspring would be then his older brothers, and Onan did the second, he didn't want that. So it came to the third brother. Because Onan didn't want that, then he was killed off by God for sinning and not doing what God. Remember, God said you're supposed to be fruitful and multiply, and not having children. Okay, so he dies then, and now Jacob's he has one son left, Shelah, and so what's going to happen to him? It seems like Tamara is a big problem here. Actually, it was never Tamara the problem, but his sons were the problem. So he's like, oh, you're going to stay in your house, wait till Shelah grows up, then I'll give it to you, with the idea that either hopefully she dies before the time, because seemingly she has got only bad stuff going for her, or maybe something happens, or whatever. But okay. And so she did as she was told. Then Shelah grew up. She heard about this. She knows now that Judah is not going to give Shelah to her as a husband. So she makes a plan. And she goes and kind of take off her a dress, a mourning dress, as a widow, and basically prostituted herself up, but not to any guy, understandably, to waiting because she heard that Jacob is going, Judah, lots of J's here, going to go to be in a certain place. So she kind of went there, making sure that she will met him, and this was after the death of his wife. And so yeah, he made use of the prostitute, and seemingly Tamara knew that he is a guy like this, because I mean, if she knew that, you know, he's very faithful to his wife and he will never do anything behind his wife's back or anything like that, and then she might have, you know, what's the chance of, I can prostitute myself, but he's not going to even twice look at me, right? But yeah, so most likely he was this kind of a guy. And well, we will get it in the teaching part as well, back to this point. Anyhow, he saw her, he went into her, had intercourse with her, and then she asked for his signet, the ring, whatever. She went then her way. The next day he sent this little goat, but she was gone and they couldn't find her. So it was like, okay, you know, forget about this kind of idea, but otherwise people are going to laugh at us. So 3 months later, Tamara she's now showing signs of pregnancy, so they knew that she was unfaithful, and so Judah is like, oh, she must die, right? And then she sends his things belonging to him. He realized it, but he is actually the father of these sons, and he was wrong and she was right. And nothing happened to her. She gave birth to twins, and as well, again, the younger will be stronger than the older, kind of fighting. And even again, like with Jacob and Esau, the fighting in the womb, the fighting here happens, and history repeats itself in this family. It keeps on repeating itself. And God, again, is the one that brings out diamonds forth from this mess. Right, so this is basically, in short, what the chapter is all about.